I've written a song for you called My Short Melody, and we're going to use that song and use all of the devices that I've talked about so far in harmonizing, the harmonic treatment that we give a song. We'll use that with this song, and you will see how we can practically apply all of these different possibilities to this melody and, of course, to any other melody. And I hope that it'll be fun for you, as much fun as it was for me to learn these things and to pass them on to you. And really, it is a lot of fun and easy to do. It's easier than you think, because all you have to do is learn how to do these things, catalog them in the sound, catalog the sound in your mind, know what to call them, and then use them freely. Here is the melody of My Short Melody, and it's very short. That's why I call it My Short Melody. Here it is. 3, 4. Now I'm going to use the melody and play it in octaves. 3, 4. In the next example, I play the melody using major and minor thirds. 3, 4. Now in this next example, I'm going to play this and try to make what I think is an improvement by changing certain places from thirds into sixths. I think it will sound better. And this alerts you to be aware that you cannot just play a whole song through in thirds or in sixths or any one color and always have it sound great. Each of these colors will sound great in a certain situation, and they might not sound great in another situation. Now I'm going to play this over, and those places that are indicated in brackets on your music is where I have made the changes from thirds to sixths. So I'm playing it again, and here is the count-off, using major and minor thirds again, except for the places where I have changed them to sixths. 3, 4. The next example is using the melody and playing it in major and minor sixths. Here's the count off. 3, 4. Now, while it's possible to play that in sixths, as I've just done, by keeping the entire melody in sixths, we arrive at a few places where it really sounds a little strange, certainly not as good as it can sound. And therefore, I'm going to play the same thing again in sixths, but changing it where the brackets indicate that the music has been changed from all of the notes being in sixths. The brackets indicate the change. So here we go. 3, 4. I mentioned in the previous two examples that quite often in the music you can't continue to use thirds or sixths all the way through, that there will be places where it will sound strange. And the reason it sounds strange in those places is because continuing to use thirds or sixths in those places will suggest other than the correct harmony, and your ear will sense it. So you have to change at that point, or you're going to be playing the wrong harmony. Now, in this song that I made up for you, when I play, I want you to hear how it sounds when I continue with thirds. And I'm going to play. Now, that's a major third, and here's a minor third. It's going to a D minor chord, and it shouldn't do that. It should be, now we're changing to sixths here. And you can sense that the chord is that. So here is the wrong sound, which sounds like this, and here's the right sound, which sounds like this in the full chord. Now, sometimes we can even play some notes that sound strange in thirds like this, where we continue to play major thirds. Now that sounds strange, but if we substitute chords for other than the regular chords to these, it sounds very rich and interesting, even using those notes that when we play them as thirds they sound incorrect. So here this one is with these chord substitutions. Continuing along, here is an example of three-part harmony on this little song. And I'm using the typical normal three-part harmony, which is drawing on the diatonic scale of the key I'm in, the key of C. And you can use as a reference point if you were playing on the piano and you just played in triads on only the white keys, you would be using the notes of the diatonic scale. And so we do the same thing on guitar. Here's the count off. 3, 4. You know, quite often in chords, if it doesn't contain a root or a fifth, our ear will still pick it up because we're so used to hearing roots and fifths even though they're not there. We're just conditioned to this. And we can take advantage of that quite often in using three-part harmony whenever possible without using a fifth or a root and using some other note and having our ear pick up those notes which were not played, and it gives a more modern sound to the three-part harmony, and it infers four-part harmony. Now this example that I'm going to play for you right now is three parts with a more modern sound, inferring this four-part harmony. And notice that the last four chords in this treatment does not have fifths. So here's the count off. 3, 4. Now let's discuss clusters. Clusters are the use of very close harmonies. Sometimes within two voices in a chord, there'll be an interval of a major second, and sometimes even a minor second. And there's a slight dissonance in this quality, but sometimes it's very interesting and very lovely. In the next example, notice that the first and the fourth melody notes are harmonized in clusters, with a major second interval between two of the voices. This makes for interesting and non-abrasive dissonance. Notice that throughout this harmonic treatment, each triad is in reality a part of a more multi-noted chord. Here's the count off for this example. 3, 4. Now, I'd like to take the first note of the melody of this song and harmonize it for you in the three different ways that we've discussed harmonizing triads. And the melody is an E, and basically it's an E as part of a C chord. Now, what I want to do when I show you, and you can hear these examples, is I'm going to roll the chord first, that is, play it in an arpeggiated manner, and then play the chord. And I will do that in each of these so that you can better hear the difference in the sound of the color of each chord. So here they are from the first through the third example using the first note of the melody. And now continuing along, I'd like to go into 4-part harmony and harmonize this melody that I've written for you in 4 parts. And you can see that as we add voices, it begins to sound fuller and fuller. And here is a 4-part, and this is what's used most of the time on the guitar. That is, most of the modern harmonies are 4-note chords, occasionally 5 and 6. Here's the count off. 3, 4. Here is a slightly different treatment, still in 4-part harmony. Some of the chords are harmonized the way they were in the previous example, and others have been slightly changed. Here's the count off. 3, 4. The next harmonic treatment is mostly 4-part harmony, but in certain places I've been able to use 5-part harmony. So see if you can feel that some of these chords have a little more fullness, a certain greater amount of thickness in its sound. 3, 4. In this example, most of the chords are 4-part harmony. Some have 6-part, and the ending chord has 5 parts and is a rather surprising final chord. So here is the count off. 3, 4. These examples were all created to show you how you can apply each of the harmonizations that we've been talking about to a fixed melody. If you find these difficult to play, don't be discouraged or surprised. They are difficult to play, and they are mainly to show you how you can apply these examples and go on and use them in your own treatment of other songs. Now, as you play through these various ways of moving the 2 voices and all of the other colors and devices that I've discussed, I hope that there'll be a lot of fun for you, and I hope that there'll be new discoveries and present themselves as fresh, exciting, new possibilities of ways of handling some of your songs and creating new arrangements for yourself, and just playing these things and deciding for yourself where you want major and minor thirds and where you want sixths and where you want 4-part harmony and 3 and so on. And you'll find that in certain places in the music that many of these will be quite possible and sound good. Now there'll be other places in music where you will have limited choices. That is, some of the things you might want to try that we've discussed will not sound right. They will not work. So the best thing is to learn all of these, learn how to play them all, learn when you hear them what they're called, and to be able to identify the sound either from a group of musicians that are playing these sounds, or when you hear it in your mind. As you hear a song that you want to play, hear how you want to play it with thirds or any of the colors we've talked about. And you can then decide how you want to play it. And the more you keep doing this, the better you get at it. For me, it's been a great discovery and a lot of fun. And this is the way I make my music. I decide what I'm going to play as a melody, and then I decide what I want to do with it as a harmonic treatment. I hope it'll be a lot of fun for you.